What were you doing before the war broke out?
I was at school. I was in the ATC, Air Training Corps, when the Japanese entered the war bombing Pearl Harbor. I was only 17 and I wrote in begging to be enlisted, you know, like in the Air Force. But they told me to wait till I was 18. I went to Kingaroy, to ITS, Initial Training School, to Arramon, the elementary flying training school, and then to Bundaberg for the service flying training on Anson's. But unfortunately, after 9 hours or so solo, I got scrubbed. Always remember the CFI, the chief flying officer. When we got down, he said, "Cooke, kaput," because I was finished. Well, I just made a mistake during the test. Just a stupid mistake, but as the CFI said, you can't afford to make mistakes like that when you have a crew you are looking after. I forgot to have 15 degrees of flaps down when I was landing, and that was it. Then I went on, I had a choice then of being a bombardier gunner or a observer. I wanted to get into the action, so I took the sweet and narrow course of being a gunner.
Which squadron were you with?
10 Squadron.
And what sort of planes were they?
Sunderland flying boats.
Where were you sent to?
First of all, we were on a ship to America, to Fort Slocum on the outskirts of New York, where we waited for transportation to England on the Queen Elizabeth.
And so what action did you see when you got to Plymouth?
I was the nose gunner of a plane, Sucker fully serviced U-boat. We spotted the U-boat, and he decided to fight, because we gave him a fight. We sunk him.
What was the nose gunner's job?
Just to shoot. Just shoot anything that came at us.
And so how did you sink the U-boat?
Depth charges, of course, you had to drop them at a low height. That's where I played a part in so much as that I silenced the deck guns. Later on, a Liberator turned up, and one of our backup planes, Sunderland, arrived on the scene. But the U-boat was nose down then. But the Liberator, they were keen on shooting up the survivors. So we just flew in front of them to stop their approach. They used to like those turkey shoots.
Oh, you didn't?
No, no way in the world. Like you don't shoot a man when he's down in the water. Wellington had been shot down by a submarine the night before, and we went out searching for it. And of course, we were forbidden to land on these rescue landings because so many planes and crews had been lost in similar attempts. But there's 3 men survivors and badly wounded in a one-man dinghy, so the skipper just said, "Well, boys, what do we do?" We said, "Go down." But it was one of the days when the bay was at its worst. It was terrible. When we picked them up, it took us 8 attempts to get airborne again, and then only on the crest of a 30-foot swell. That's how bad it was. And of course, then the day we ditched. Plane, for some unknown reason, caught on fire. And then the skipper, he dived down to put the fire out, which we succeeded in doing just about 100 foot off the deck. Then we readied the plane for possible ditching, and we'd only gone about for another half hour flying, and the starboard inner went on it. Well, that was the end of it. We just went in. See, the starboard outer was destroyed by fire on the wing, and the starboard inner was the engine next door to it. See, we were first sighted by a 3 French patrol boat. We were lucky it was 3 French and not Vichy, because if it had been Vichy, we would have been in the slammer in Germany. We had to wait then for the air sea rescue launch from Falmouth to come out and pick us up. Actually, we were none the worse for the wear when we landed, excepting we were quite a bit drunk due to the rum of the air sea rescue boys. We enjoyed it too.
Tell me about actually crashing into the water, though. That must have been the most frightening experience.
Well, I'll tell you what, you don't laugh. We have a trailing aerial that we drop through the floor, and it's got sinkers on it to take it away from the plane, you know. And I was down on my knees, picking up the trailing aerial and pulling it in because we didn't want another hole in the bottom. The boys reckoned I was down on my knees pelting out the rosary, because I was the only Catholic on the crew.
And when you hit the water, did the whole plane break up?
No. It more or less stayed afloat, and we got out on the wing with our emergency dinghies and everything like that. We did all our flying over the Bay of Biscay, and that's where all the juries had their fighter plane base, 5 bases. And if we had a patrol that was going down 6 west, boy, we used to get the wind up because that was flying right. You could practically spit on the aerodromes where the fighters were. And in the attacks that I was involved in, no one was injured. They were a bit scary of us, of our firepower.
Why, how much firepower did you have?
So we had 4 in the tail, 2 in the mid-upper, 2 in the nose, and 1 out of each galley hatch.
When did the war end for you then, when the Germans surrendered?
Yeah. Went a bit mad, got a bit drunk.
You're a member of the Goldfish Club because of ditching into the Bay of Biscay.
Yep, aircrew or airmen who were saved by ditching. See, we never carried parachutes. We went down with the plane. Because there's no good jumping out of a plane in the middle of the Bay of Biscay when you run from. There's only 5 men left in the club. The last 10 to 12 years have taken a real toll on us through age, war injuries and so forth. And
so what do you do when you get together? Do you talk about the war much or not?
No, we just have a good old yarn and a dinner and a drink. I hardly ever hear anybody mention about the war. What
happened after the war? You came back?
Yeah.
And the war was still going on with Japan. Did you have to go into that one?
No, I would never have got into the fighting up north because of my injuries. I hurt my back, the neck. The only actual wound, I could say, wasn't a wound. It was I fractured my cheekbone when we crashed. And I was in hospital for about a week with my bad back. That was from mooring the boat. The doctor, he said to me, he said, what? He said, you hurt your back mooring the boat. I said, yeah, 20-ton flying boat.
And so after the war, did you get a job?
Yeah, well, I was a bit of a nervous case. I couldn't stand inside work. I was working as a bookbinder. They'd come in, they'd be piled up high. The girls would pile them up high, you know, and I'd have to staple them and quarter bind them. And I come back this one after having lunch once. And I saw this bloody big pile, so I just threw them all up in the air and walked out. That was the state of mind I was in at the time. You know.
Why? What was wrong? This is from your flying overseas?
Yeah, it was neurosis, what they called anxiety neurosis. And I suffered with that for years and years and years. But now I'm okay now. Suddenly into managing a swimming pool down at the Rector Peninsula. That's the deal I was college.
And how long did you do that for, Lance?
30 years.
When did you get married?
Our 60th is comes up next month, 26th of July, 1945, in England.
You met an English girl?
Yeah.
And you brought her home?
Yeah.
What's your wife's name?
Megan. We raised 8 children, and then we got the 25 grandchildren, and then the 8 great-grandchildren. When we have a reunion, like we go to each and everybody's different place for Christmases. The houses are always crowded. People sleep on the floors, and I tell you what, it was good to have a big family because I was pretty wonky for quite a while. I was in and out of hospital, you know, and it was good to have the family, you know.
When did you retire?
So I turned 60. When was that? 84.
And what have you been doing?
Nothing. Nothing. The doctor said to me one day, how do you find these cold mornings, Lance? I said, I don't find them. I stay in bed. When
you look back on the war and the fact that you've had to deal with this nervous condition over the years, does it ever make you think it wasn't worth it, or you shouldn't have gone, or?
No. I never ever thought of anything that way. Well, the worst was panic attacks. I just suffered from panic attacks. They were the worst.